everyone, and welcome to UZ Report World News Broadcasting with the latest news from Uzbekistan and around the world. The delegation of Uzbekistan, headed by Foreign Minister Abdulaziz Kamilov, attended the virtual ministerial roundtable held within the framework of the Global Leaders Summit on Climate. Kamilov, during his address, informed the participants on the work carried to combat climate change. He urged the stakeholders to strengthen international cooperation in the modernization of climate monitoring, the development of early warning systems, as well as the expansion of the network of automatic meteorological, hydrological and agro-meteorological stations.
Thus, we suggest the following measures to expand cooperation in this direction. First, we propose to adopt a special resolution of the UN's General Assembly Declaration declaring the Aral Sea region into the area of ecological innovation and technologies. Second, we call upon all our partners for active cooperation within the UN Multi-Partner Human Security Trust Fund for the Aral Sea region. Third, we propose to strengthen international collaboration in the field of modernization of climate monitoring, development of early warning systems in Central Asia. And fourthly, we propose to expand scientific research in the field of renewable energy technologies, as well as the attraction of investment in the implementation of joint projects. Uzbekistan have ratified the Paris Agreement committing to reduce greenhouse gas emission.
Uzbekistan's foreign trade turnover amounted to $7.1 billion following the IQ results, with a negative trade balance at $2.3 billion. Compared to the same period of 2020, the indicator has dipped by $930 million or 11.6%, according to the country's statistical committee.
Exports in the reporting period totaled to almost $2.4 billion and imports $4.7 billion. The export of goods and services amounted to $1.9 billion and $467.1 billion respectively. The structure of exports was dominated by industrial goods, food products, chemicals, and etc. China remained Uzbekistan's biggest trade partner, with the volume of turnover amounting to $1.4 billion. Biggest partners were also Russia, Kazakhstan, and Turkey.
Uzbekistan hit the record in the number of coronavirus patients, with almost 400 infected on 21st of April alone, the overall number reaching 87,935. The number of vaccinated people comprised 28,405 on that day, reported the country's Ministry of Health. Uzbekistan ranked 21st in the world among 230 countries with cheap internet services, the British portal cable.co.uk reported. The average price of mobile internet per gigabyte is $0.6. Uzbekistan has improved its ranking by 33 positions year-on-year. In February last year, the country priced per gigabyte for $1.3, ranking 54th place among other countries. The nation with the cheapest internet is Israel. Its citizens pay only 5 cents per gigabyte. The most expensive internet is in Equatorial Guinea, with gigabyte costing almost $50. Countries with cheap internet are wealthy island nations, while disadvantaged sub-Saharan countries showcase expensive net cost. US-based mystery box film production company has arrived in Uzbekistan. According to the Republic's diplomatic mission in the USA and Canada, the crew plans to produce 30 minutes video footage aimed at promoting the country's touristic potential in social media through the iFeed platform. Besides, it is planned to shoot a 2-minute long trailer to the film about Tamerlane.
The iFit workout application is very popular in the USA, as it brings together fitness activities taking place in various locations, all with a single login and device. That means that millions of platform users would be able to discover the historical sites of Uzbekistan virtually and get to wish to visit the Republic in the future. In addition, the company plans to produce a short architecture video for Jacob Plasketty Shorts' official YouTube channel. Another 2-minute trailer about Tamerlane would be posted on Netflix, Amazon, and other US-based toll platforms. In 2019, Mystery Box produced an Uzbekistan 8K video footage that received over 1.6 million views on YouTube. The company cooperates with the world's leading corporations, including Sony, Dell, and Vizio.
Uzbekistan plans to reform the customs and transport inspection by reducing the process. Besides, the government aims to implement a security management system with the spot checks taken to a new level, allowing to simplify the processing of foreign trade goods in the Republic. According to Zokir Mahkamov, senior lecturer at Uzbekistan's Customs Institute, customs simplification is one of the key requirements of the Kyoto International Treaty. One of the key conditions of the Kyoto Convention is ensuring the introduction of customs auditing in the customs system of member countries. Goods crossing the border would pass customs clearance in a short time. To reduce the impact of the human factor in the future through the application of a safety management system, certain categories of goods may be inspected after customs clearance.
Good afternoon, everyone.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday announced tax credits to certain businesses that provide paid time off for their employees to get COVID-19 shots as he seeks to combat vaccine hesitancy and get corporate America more involved in vaccination efforts.
I'm calling on every employer, large and small, in every state to give employees the time off they need with pay to get vaccinated.
Businesses with fewer than 500 employees can get a tax credit of up to $511 a day for giving workers as much as 80 hours of paid time off to get their shots or recover from any side effects. The tax credits were authorized under the Democratic-backed COVID-19 pandemic relief legislation and are available through September.
When tomorrow's vaccine and vaccination numbers come out, we will show that today we did it. Today, we hit 200 million shots.
The announcement came as Biden said he expects the U.S. on Wednesday to reach his goal of getting 200 million coronavirus shots administered in his first 100 days in office. But now the administration's chief problem is shifting from securing enough vaccines to convincing enough Americans to get them. It's an issue that was also addressed Wednesday by Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, who said her state was among those seeing a decline in vaccinations since last week's announcement by the FDA and CDC that they were pausing the use of Johnson & Johnson's shot due to a rare blood clotting disorder that emerged in 6 women.
So this shift isn't, again, unique to Iowa. Vaccine hesitancy is beginning to become a real factor across the country.
More than half of American adults have had at least one shot, according to the CDC, and a third are fully vaccinated.
Now our objective is to reach everyone.
Biden touted how the vaccine effort entered a new phase this week with everyone over 16 now eligible. He implored Americans, who have the highest COVID death toll in the world, to get vaccinated by saying simply,
until you are fully vaccinated, you are still vulnerable. The vaccine can save your life.
State investigators in Columbus, Ohio, are probing the fatal police shooting of a black teenager in a confrontation caught on body camera video that appeared to show her holding a knife and lunging at 2 people. The 16-year-old girl, identified by her family members as Micaiah Bryant, collapses against the parked car and onto the ground. The weapon, which appears to be a kitchen knife, is seen lying on the pavement near her as an officer crouches at her side to render medical aid.
Find the defendant guilty.
The incident happened Tuesday around the same time a Minneapolis jury convicted a white former police officer of murdering George Floyd last year by kneeling on his neck. Her shooting triggered immediate protests in Columbus, Ohio's biggest city and the state capital. Interim Police Chief Michael Woods identified the officer who shot Bryant as Nicholas Reardon and said Reardon would be taken off the street pending an investigation.
We'll release all other information that we can as soon as we can.
Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther on Wednesday said the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation would determine if the officer had acted unlawfully.
Did Micaiah Bryant need to die yesterday? How did we get here?
The video shows police who were responding to a 911 call for an attempted stabbing, driving up to a chaotic scene with several people gathered on a front lawn. Bryant, brandishing a knife, charged toward one person who fell backwards and then lunged at a second person. A slow-motion replay shows the second victim stumbling backward against a parked car in the home's driveway as Bryant raises the weapon as if about to stab her, and Reardon fires what sounds like 4 shots. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters that President Joe Biden had been briefed on the shooting.
The killing of 16-year-old Michaela Bryant by the Columbus police is tragic. She was a child. We're thinking of her friends and family and the communities that are hurting and grieving her loss.
Franklin County Children's Services said Bryant was a foster child in the agency's care. According to a video on Twitter, her aunt told reporters that, quote, "She was a good kid. She was loving. She didn't deserve to die like a dog on the street."
Rebel forces have set their sights on Chad's capital in N'Djamena, following Monday's killing of the country's President Idris Deby as he visited the front line. It's a move that threatens to bring more turmoil in a country seen as vital to international efforts to combat militants in the Africa Sahel region. Rebel forces from the Front for Change and Concord in Chad, or FACT, poured over the country's northern border last weekend. They say they are now between 125 and 190 miles north of the capital in Kanem region. FACT has claimed responsibility for the battlefield injuries that killed Deby. He was said to have been wounded by gunfire in the village of Mele near the town of Nnoku. The group was formed in 2016 by dissident military officers and is not linked to the jihadist groups. Deby's son Mahamat Idris Deby has been named interim president by a transitional council of military officers. According to the council's vice president, the army aims to return Chad to a civilian government and hold elections in 18 months. But FACT has rejected that plan and said it would press on with the offensive. FACT spokesman Kingabe Guazeni.
Le Tchad n'est pas une monarchie.
Chad is not a monarchy.
Il ne peut y avoir de dévolution dynastique du pouvoir.
There can be no dynastic devolution of power in our country.
Les forces de la résistance nationale du Front.
The National Resistance Forces from the Front for Change in Concord in Chad
font route en ce moment même vers
are right now on their way towards N'Djamena
avec assurance
with confidence, but above all with courage and determination.
Et détermination.
Deby had won friends abroad by sending his well-trained army to fight militants, including Boko Haram and groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. His death poses questions about stability in the wider region, as well as in Chad. Before his death, opposition to Deby's rule had been growing, and Chad's military is divided. Authorities imposed a night curfew and closed land and air borders after Deby's death. In N'Djamena on Wednesday, schools and some businesses were open, but many stayed home, and the streets were quiet.
South Korean police say they want to talk to the wife of the Belgian ambassador there after an incident in which she allegedly slapped a shopkeeper. Footage from a security camera emerged online this week from a clothing store. It shows a woman slapping a shopkeeper who had tried to stop her from approaching another worker. They had suspected she was trying to leave the shop with an item of clothing she had not paid for. Police who were dispatched at scene identified her as Xiang Xueqiu, the wife of the Belgian ambassador, according to an officer at the local police station. Police say they received a complaint over an alleged assault. But since then, the police have not been able to contact Xiang, saying it was because she was in a hospital. Reuters was unable to identify which hospital and could not immediately reach her for comment. The Belgian embassy in Seoul confirmed Xiang had been hospitalized, but made no further comment. South Korea's foreign ministry told Reuters it had urged the Belgian embassy to cooperate on the matter and said it would take appropriate measure based on the police investigation.
We develop sensors and then we put them on robots, deploy them around the world ocean. The goal is to be able to monitor the health of the ocean in places where people don't go but once a decade.
A total of 500 floating robots will be deployed from the North Pacific to the Indian Ocean and beyond as part of a project known as the Global Ocean Biogeochemistry Array over the next 5 years. Some of the devices already started monitoring the world's most treacherous oceans since March, complete with computers, hydraulics, batteries, and an array of sensors that scientists hope will give them a more comprehensive picture of the ocean and its health in the years to come. Ken Johnson is the project director and a senior scientist at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute in California.
I'm convinced that we have to have a better way to observe the ocean, and that requires robots that will stay there. You know, hard to have a graduate student convince them to stay in a ship for a year at a time. No one just wants to do that. And the ships have to come in. They need fuel and food. So robots, robotic systems are the answer to doing this, to monitoring a really important part of the global ecosystem.
The monitors will retrieve information about the ocean's pH levels, salinity, temperature, pressure, oxygen, and nitrate. Those measurements will be taken at a depth of 3,280 feet, where the float will drift in weaker currents for a little more than a week. Then, the float will descend to 6,500 feet before it will surface and transmit its data to shore via satellite. The collected data will be made available to research institutions and schools for free, and it will help lead to better oceanic modelling, said George Matsumoto, a senior education and research specialist at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute.
So the data we pick up is just going to keep adding over time. We don't expect these outrageous, incredible results on day one. We may not even get it after 1 year. But over the years, as all the data starts to accumulate, we're learning more and more about the ocean. It's adding to the strength of the models. And so the models are going to get much more accurate.
With everything from viral dances to feta pasta recipes, TikTok has taken the world by storm. But now the video sharing app and its Chinese parent ByteDance could face a damages claim worth billions of dollars in London's High Court. That's over allegations they illegally harvested the private data of millions of European children. The former Children's Commissioner for England, Anne Longfield, is the so-called litigation friend for an anonymous 12-year-old girl leading the class action. On Wednesday, she said that affected children could receive thousands of pounds each if the claim is successful. Longfield says that every child who has used TikTok since May 2018 may have had private personal information illegally collected by ByteDance for unknown third parties. A TikTok representative said privacy and safety were the company's top priorities and that it had robust processes and technologies in place to help protect all its users. But the claimants allege TikTok violated UK and European data protection laws. They say it processed young people's data without adequate security measures and transparency, and allege it lacked the consent of guardians or legitimate interest. The case has been put on hold as it awaits a UK Supreme Court ruling in a bellwether case against Google over alleged unlawful tracking of iPhone users. That case will be heard next week. Emirates Chief Executive Tim Clark said on Wednesday that the airline may need to raise more cash this year if demand for air travel does not pick up soon. The state carrier had hoped the global vaccine rollout would renew confidence in air travel, but demand remains at very low levels.
Now, as far as Emirates is concerned, we're good for another 6, 7 or 8 months in terms of cash. We have sufficient cash coming in to be able to keep the day-to-day operations at a neutral basis. But, like everybody else, if in 6 months global demand is where it is today, then we're all going to face difficulties, not just Emirates.
Emirates lost $3.4 billion in the first half of 2020 and got $2 billion in equity last year from the Dubai government. However, Clark is hopeful that the cash situation could be turned around by September-October, as long as the demand is there.
To be quite honest, I'm hoping that the demand will return during the course of the summer and that these variants virus variants will be dealt with and that the vaccination program will continue at pace, particularly in the markets, not just in Europe or the West, but also in the developing world, which is so important to us.
Clark said he also expects that there would be interest in business class travel after the health crisis, even if corporate travel does diminish as executives opt to hold meetings online instead of travelling. He said demand would likely be supported by cheaper fares to fill business class seats if corporate travel doesn't rebound.
NASA has announced yet another first on Mars Wednesday, having literally created oxygen out of the red planet's thin air. That's thanks to an experimental device carried by the six-wheeled rover vehicle called Perseverance that landed there in February. The gadget is called MOXIE, and in its first activation it created 5 grams of oxygen from the atmosphere of Mars, which is mostly carbon dioxide. That's enough for an astronaut to breathe for 10 minutes. It may sound small, but that's big news, marking the first experimental extraction of natural resources from another planet that humans can directly use. NASA says it's the first technology of its kind that may help future missions live off the land of another world. Oxygen is needed not only to see humans on Mars someday, it is also crucial for the fuel to get them home. MOXIE's success comes a day after another achievement on Mars. With a miniature robot helicopter, NASA pulled off the first controlled powered flight of an aircraft on another planet.
Stocks on Wall Street rebounded Wednesday, snapping a 2-day losing streak. Gains in materials, energy, and other cyclical sectors helped offset a sharp drop in Netflix. The broad rally lifted both the Dow and the S&P 500 0.9% and the Nasdaq 1.2%. Summit Place Financial Advisors President Liz Miller says the market's choppy action shows investors are reevaluating their investments.
I think that reflects this internal reassessment among investors, trying to decide how tilted to be to the industrial cyclical names and how committed they can continue to be to these long-term, good, strong growth names.
Capping the Nasdaq's gains, Netflix. Shares dropped 7%, one day after the streaming video pioneer said slower production of TV shows and movies during the health crisis hurt subscriber growth. Subscribers were also an issue for Verizon. The company lost more wireless subscribers than expected in the latest quarter. Shares fell about 0.5%. Dish Networks was the S&P's top gainer, rising 11%. The satellite TV operator signed a deal with Amazon to build its 5G network on Amazon's cloud platform.
These were the top headlines for today. Stay safe and goodbye.